I'm going to share with you this afternoon is about Xero and the Philippine compliance. So allow me to share my screen. Okay, so what we are going to discuss this afternoon is more of expanded withholding tax and VAT. So we know that Xero actually is not created here in the Philippines. So we need to create a workaround procedure on how can we make Xero compliant, no, and the reporting of Xero compliant with our local requirements or our local tax requirement. So again, my discussion is revolving on the VAT and the expanded withholding tax. So please bear with me with the presentation I created, and I will walk you through on how we will do Xero compliant with the local requirements. So the first thing we need to do is to set up the VAT and the withholding tax. So to do that, we have to go to accounting and go to the advanced settings. So let's go over to the tax rates. And by the way, the tax rates here are basically the VAT in the Philippines. So I pre-created some of the tax rates based on the VAT return that we are preparing every month. So we have here the input VAT and the output VAT and the subcategories. If it is an import, if it's a service, and if it's an ordinary good. So by the way, ordinary goods are basically the goods other than capital goods. So to show you how we create this, so you just have to click on the new tax rate and insert here the input tax on the capital goods. No? So I will put it here, then I'll put the tax rate, then click save. Then that's it, you already set it up. No? So you will do the same for the rest of the items for the VAT. Okay, so I have here the input VAT and the output VAT. So that's the setup, that's the settings for the VAT. So the next item that we will need to create or to set up is the expanded withholding tax. So currently, Xero only has one tax rate available, and we use that for the VAT. So what we need to do is to create a workaround procedure for the expanded. And what I recommend here is creating items, creating sub-items for the withholding tax. So for that, you have to go to products and services feature of Xero and create it there. So for those of you who are not familiar with the products and services, this is actually the inventoryable feature, the inventory feature of Xero. So we will maximize that to present the withholding tax. So I pre-created here some of the tax rates, no? And you can see there's a cost price and sales price, which is actually the expanded withholding tax rates. So how did I created this? I created a new item. I make a new item, and then on the code, I use the withholding tax code, the ATC code from the BIR, and I put in the name anything that's related to the description of this ATC. So we will not track this inventory again, since this is not an inventory item. This is actually for the withholding tax rate. We will fill up both the purchase and the sales, since for the purchase, we will be using it as expanded withholding tax, while for the sales part, we will use it as a creditable withholding tax. So for the cost, we will put it as based on the percentage. So for this one, I will put 10%, no, or 0.01. Okay. So for the purchase account, we will use expanded withholding tax. Okay. So the tax rate, this is actually the VAT, so it should be tax exempt. And for the description, I will insert the details on the BIR form, which is the professional. So same goes with the sales. No? So I will edit the description and the tax rate. So for this one, so as you can see on the purchases, I use withholding tax expanded. For the sales account, I will use creditable. So that's it. That's how we create settings for both the VAT and the expanded. So I already have here some of the tax rates that are available on the BIR. So what we will do next is actually let's try to create a transaction and let's show how can this be helpful in our VAT and withholding tax report is. So I will show here more detail on the expense side. No? Since there are similarities naman on the recording of invoice and bills, but for the purpose of presenting to you the withholding tax, so I will use the expense side. So I will create a new bill. By the way, I pre-created transactions related to the rentals and the subcontractors fees for the presentation purposes. And I will also create one for the professionals. So let's create an expense transaction for professionals. So I put here the company name, the date and due date. So by the way, all of this information are test data. So it's not related to any transactions. So let's assume that the professional fee is 10,000. Okay. So for this one, let's assume this is vatable company. So we use input VAT on services. So the next item is we know that the professional fees are subject to withholding tax. So for that one, we have to go to the item and let's find the withholding tax rate applicable to this. So as I mentioned a while ago, we use the tax code as item code here in Xero. So we just need to input the ATC or the tax code. So for this one, this is WC010. So and then instead of inserting the tax base on the unit price column, we will insert the tax base on the quantity. So why is that? Because the tax rate are already in the unit price. So I will insert the tax base here, and all the information are already pre-inserted because again, when we set up the withholding tax rates on the products and services, we already included all of the items except for the tax base. So once we set it up here, we just have to click approve and it's already created. So the next item that you will be interested in is after you record all the transactions, how can we prepare the report? How can we see the VAT report and the withholding tax report? So I'll start with the VAT report. So for that, you need to go to the reports and the sales tax reports. So for those of you wondering, why did I consolidate both the output VAT and the input tax in input VAT in one account, in one presentation? So in Xero, VAT are consolidated. So meaning the input VAT and the output VAT are combined in one presentation. So in this one, you will see that the input VAT and output VAT are presented in consolidation. So in the Philippine setup, this will be your overpayment or this will be your VAT payable. So for those of you who are used to separate the input VAT and the output VAT, here in Xero, you have to consolidate them. Okay? So you can maximize this feature of Xero, which is the sales tax summary. So as you can see here in the VAT, I already have here information related to the VAT on services, on the output VAT on sales, output VAT on Xero rated. So if you have transactions related to purchase of capital goods, purchase of goods other than capital goods, then this will be useful to you. So how can this be useful to the VAT reporting? So since everything here is covered for the period, so you just have to copy the total amounts and insert it into the VAT report for the VAT return. So afterwards, you can file your VAT report through your EFPS or EBIR forms. So this is for the reporting on the VAT. So let's go over to the reporting on the expanded withholding tax. So for that, you just have to go to the accounting and the reports. And let's go over to the inventory item list details. So for this purpose, I will be using inventory item details. And for those of you wondering why I am using inventory item. So again, products and services is the inventory feature of Xero. And we use that as a workaround to prepare or to pre-create withholding tax rates. So as you can see here, the transactions are presented here. Professional tax rate of 10% that we created a while ago, and some of the items that I pre-created, particularly on the rentals and the subcontractor. So you can use these subtotals on your quarterly expanded withholding tax reporting, and you can use the totals here, the grand totals here for your monthly withholding tax. So that's how easy it is to create VAT and withholding tax report in Xero. So you just have to do your normal transactions and set up first the VAT and withholding tax. So for the reporting on the EBIR forms or EFTS, you just have to copy, present the report, prepare the reports, and paste it with your EBIR or EFTS forms. Now, the next question might be, how can I use Xero with other platforms, particularly on the BIR forms on the withholding tax, which is the alpha list, and for the VAT, the VAT relief. So for those of you wondering, there are two options available in Xero. So the first option actually is to use the platform or the software of BIR. So you have to use the VAT relief, you have to use the alpha list. And then from there, you have to do the recording manually. So meaning you will extract the report from Xero, and then you will put it on the EBIR form on the alpha list and the VAT relief. So that option actually is available, is more efficient, more effective to you if you are managing your costs. So this is kind of cost effective. But if you want to do it efficiently and cost is not a problem to you, then what I suggest is to look for third-party applications that can be integrated to Xero. So what do I mean by that? You have to go to Xero Marketplace and look for third-party applications that can be connected to Xero for your local tax requirements. So here in the Philippines, we have here the Juan tax. So allow me to share this. No? So Juan tax is the first in the Philippines who can facilitate filing and payment of Philippine BIR compliance, meaning the information from Xero can be integrated and can be captured by this platform. So what you need to do is to integrate this platform to your Xero, and then after the reporting, after you have closed your reports for the period, you just need to log into this application and you have to integrate the transactions that you have recorded on your Xero, and Juan Tax will help you to create this information, the VAT relief, the alpha list, including the preparation of BIR form 2307 or the withholding tax certificates. So this is very efficient, no, in terms of your recording of transactions. You don't need to duplicate the recordings from the EBIR forms, the alpha list, and the VAT relief, and recording it separately with Xero. So there you have it, the two options available to you for using the other requirements for the BIR. So